I'm not even going to tell you what I was laughing about.
All right. Welcome back to the Always Right podcast. I'm author Karisa DeLay.
And I'm Jaime Vendera,
Yes.
author. Hey, I was already thinking about AI. It's
Yeah,
funny.
today. Yeah. So it's been about a year since we have talked
How?
about AI.
Yes.
Yes. And so we have done a lot of dabbling with AI since then. We have experimented with different programs. We've went through different platforms to see how they work. And now we're going to revisit AI as writers and how we feel now that we've kind of experimented with it.
And I don't even remember what I said last year. I'm pretty sure I was open-minded to it because I was experimenting with it a little bit. I still stand strong that I wouldn't let AI write my book. I wouldn't say, write me a whole scene. I would not copy and paste that. But I have been using it a lot. And like I just joined Pseudo-Write. So I'm pulling Age of the Sigil, books 1 through 3 are now in there. And I am going to let it guide me like a friend who has read books 1 through 3. And they're like, oh, don't you
Like
forget.
a writing coach.
Yes,
Yeah.
don't you that fairy didn't come from the south, she came from the west. So I'm using it like that, but I will be honest, I write a lot of articles for like Dr. Vox or for Vendera Vocal Academy, and I'm getting better at prompts now. Our buddy Jeff Rivera had taught me about using prompts, and I will write up a couple paragraphs and talk to ChatGPT and say, hey, I really like this, but I want it to be more informative, or I want them to watch this video, or I want to be a little quirky, a little funny, and I'll let it rewrite it. And I look at it and I'm like, I wouldn't say that. And I'll be like, you know what, take this out, but I want you to add something like this. It's just quicker for me. I'm too busy teaching and writing, and I'm like, hey, we need 5 articles for Dr. Vox. Well, I already have the idea, the bullet points, and I can write that out. But if I needed 3 paragraphs instead of 2, I could write a paragraph and a half and say, hey, beef this up. And I'm totally fine with that.
Put a pin in that idea, because let's talk about the pros and cons first, because then I want to go back to what you're talking about, and let's discuss the different levels of AI, because there are different levels within AI's writing tools of how it operates creatively or more computively, like if you're asking for different stuff. I made some bullet points in our notes today of the pros and the cons.
And I just hit pro number 1. Yes, speed and efficiency.
Speed and efficiency. Yes, speed and efficiency. It can generate these things very quickly. And if you're trying to revise an article or report or any kind of other documents that you need to go over, I know it has a certain stipulation of word count sometimes, but sometimes it'll allow you to upload a PDF. It will summarize a PDF for you. I've done that with college PDFs that it's like 120 pages that I know for a fact has repetition that I've read multiple times, that I don't need the filler fluff. I need the basic understanding of what this document is telling me without spending 7 hours reading it. So it's very nice to say, I'm going to upload this. Can you summarize it? And it will. And I could say, can you itemize each page? Like, give me 120 bullet points. What's the basics of this page? And it'll do it for you.
Yeah, I see this. I see the same thing like in a fiction book. Like you're like, can you bullet point each chapter so I know what the highlights, and can you explain a little more about the characters? And that way, if you're like, hey, I'm writing a trilogy, but my gosh, I wrote that book last year. I can't remember. I don't want to reread it. I just wish I could summarize it really quick. It's great for that.
And when we were talking about, we talked to recently an upcoming author, Willow Grace. She said she used AI to use a creative side of like, I need a little bit for this. What would be an idea for that? She wouldn't copy paste, but it would inspire her to go to the next level. So it can act as an inspiration tool to get a new perspective of maybe something you haven't thought of. And helping just overcome some of those situations when you're facing writer's block.
Yep, boredom.
I was waiting for you to get that.
I was prepared for that. I was going boredom as soon as you said it. I love it for I love it for grammar and style fixes, especially if you got a writing style and let's be honest, you develop a writing style, but maybe you take a break from your book and you're like, oh, I want to read this new series by this author I love. if you're not careful, you'll start to switch your writing style and you won't even notice it. And it can keep you on
Yeah.
point. It can correct that. For me, you read my text to speech. Why doesn't text to speech come with AI? I need AI text to speech because you're
Needs
like,
Siri to
it's a,
come in and say, "Excuse me, Jamie. What
yeah.
did you just say? Can
Well,
you
you can
repeat that?"
understand. What was it yesterday? I said, I'm going to see Pauly Shore, and I
Mm.
said
Yeah, you said,
something.
"Did you send me the notes from the meeting with Pauly Shore tonight?" And I was like,
Yeah,
"What?"
but it didn't spell Pauly Shore right. It was
Oh
something
yeah, it
else.
said Polish something.
Yeah, Polish, sure. And the
Yes,
reason I said that because you said, "Did you read the?" I sent you the notes for our podcasts. I'm like, "Did you send me the notes for Pauly Shore?" Because I was being, me. So that was the
I
point of
was
that.
so lost. I'm like, Polish Shore. But in my mind, my brain literally heard Pauly Shore. I'm like, I think he meant to say Pauly Shore. Is he meeting Pauly Shore tonight? I was like, what's happening?
Yeah. So
But
yes, grammar, and this is really
Grammarly,
great.
yes.
Yeah,
And I use
because
Grammarly for this one.
for sure, because if you're going to hire an editor like Rich, wouldn't it make sense to go ahead so you're not feeling like you're paying him extra for this grammatical stuff? Clean
Yes.
it up, make it
Yes.
consistent. So you could use AI to make sure it's on points, its
Yes.
grammar and styles all there.
Yes. And personalization is a key thing with AI because you can make it specific to certain audiences. And I've said this multiple times on the episodes that we've done in the past. When I use Grammarly, I will insert my information that I've typed out. I will set goals on the right hand side that will tell you whether it's going to be academic, is this creative, are you telling a story, are you trying to describe something? You have all these parameters that you hit, and then also say what type of audience. Are you a general, a knowledgeable, or expert? What type of audience are you trying to focus on? So it knows whether it can use certain slang words. That is awesome because sometimes when you are doing things that you feel is natural conversation, it's not professional conversation. It's not, and then when you send that to someone who's very knowledgeable, they're going to look at it like you are not respecting their profession.
Yeah, I think it's very cost effective too.
Oh
You got
yeah.
notes here like using AI for drafting and content generation can reduce costs, especially for businesses that require large volumes of content. I think
Mhm.
Daniel had mentioned this. He writes a lot of marketing for an insurance company, and if he didn't mention this in the podcast, I think he did. He's
He
mentioned to me,
did.
he's like, "Dude, I use AI a lot because." I don't have all the hours, so what was taking me hours to write an article, I can do in a matter of seconds or minutes. And
Hmm.
so when you're on the clock, there's nothing wrong with this. It isn't, we mentioned this here, or I mentioned before, is like way back in the day when you record a song on tape, and I know I'm broken record
Hmm.
because I repeated
On
this.
8 track.
Yes, and now it's like, how dare they do this in the computer? They're taking away engineers' jobs, and now people can't afford because they can't buy tape.
Listen,
No, this is the way. This is just
yes.
technology. It's the way it's changing. It's still human creativity. Nothing's going to replace that.
Here's my point. Okay. And I'm going to add this to this, even though I didn't add this in the notes. AI does so much to make life easier to where people can be done faster and eventually spend more quality time with the people that are more important.
Absolutely.
So it's not taking your job, it's making your job faster because you weren't, I mean, in a sense, some jobs take so long because you might have to do so much research or you might have to do this, you might do that, where it may cut your workload in half. You can't, okay, I've experimented with this. You can't just tell AI, write me an insurance thing. It needs more context. So you have to still do the work in a sense. You still have to you have to learn AI's parameters so it knows how to give you the perfect response.
Well,
So that's
the
not something you just can come up with.
the prompts. I remember this well over a year ago, sitting there with Jeff Rivera. He's like, "Dude, you got to write these books. He's on me like you are. Here's the way you do it. Da 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 da. You got to use prompts." I'm like, "How do you know all these prompts?" And then I realized one day it's not about like you can go on Kindle and buy a book of 1,000 prompts. It's not that. Quit thinking of AI as a computer program. Think of it like your friends who's on the creative side. You're like, "Hey, how would you write this scene?" No, no, I wouldn't do that. She has red hair. Oh no, but they're jumping off a table. You would the prompts are you adding to the conversation to lead
Mhm,
them towards what you want. So now
mhm,
I found that it's not necessarily that I have a set of prompts to guide for writing a Dr. Vox article. I do have one prompt: make it funny and quirky, and I use that, and I keep it in Chat GPT. I actually have the same one I use I'm like, no, 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 I need it more informative. Remember this and that. So it's like talking to an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you wrote this for, no, that's not what I wanted. Here, you remember, you got to put this in there. So be involved with it.
And
Lead it.
AI does not get offended when you tell it did it wrong. Like,
No,
no,
but I
that's
do
how I
thank it. I'm like, thank you. I don't know why, because I'm thinking of Terminator. I'm like, if I'm not nice to Chat GPT, it's going to gut me one day.
Have you
So
ever listened to the Dane Cook comedy sketch where he takes chocolate to the one guy in the office all the time? He always gives this guy candy, always gives him candy. And then one day, God forbid, the guy comes in the office and like takes everyone out except for the guy that gave him candy. He's like, thanks for the candy. And you're like, that's why you do it. You give them like you give them a thank you. So when they come back and take over the world, they're like, you know what? You've been kind to me.
yeah, he
You're
was kind to me. He didn't just use me.
yes.
So let's talk about some cons.
Yes, the cons. So this is where when I've experimented myself and I know with you, where AI hits them kind of loses the mark and people don't think they think it's just doing certain things. Like you can have it write your book, but the content may not be rich because you're losing a little bit of that depth and authenticity that you get as a natural human writer. And a lot of people want a human aspect to it. There are actually jobs that AI manufacturing companies or companies that build AI use humans on the backside to look at a prompt and say, okay, which one of these AI responses was better and why? So you have humans on the backside constantly doing that to help it increase understanding of what's not working. When someone's asking for this prompt, why did this prompt that you or the response you give not work great for the person?
And that's why, I mean, prompts do work. You'll find that, if you use a certain prompt and write it in a certain way, it may be beneficial to you because let's be honest, right now, there's no depth, there's no authenticity when, ChatGPT spits something out. You're like, that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of bland.
Yeah.
So that's when you really got to dive in and adjust those prompts.
And something I have mentioned in multiple episodes about AI is the originality and the potential for plagiarism, especially with college papers, using AI as a tool and not as I've said in previous, when I've watched students do this in discussion boards, just copy paste, and just because you're with an older professor, they may not catch it. It's not going to help you, one, but two, someone's going to catch it because it does not have it's using a database of information that already exists. When you're asking it to do something, it may potentially plagiarize something. It may potentially copy and you not realize it because you are not surfing the internet and the amount of data it can do in a millisecond. Therefore, you're not going to know it's plagiarized.
Yeah, and that's why, like, even with Lightning Source Printing, who we use is owned by Ingram, they now have,
A
when we
scrub.
submit a print book, they're like, hey, was AI used for this? Same thing with Kindle.
Yeah.
And you better answer truthfully
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to scrub your book and you may get a lot of red flags like, no, it's
Yeah.
been
And
rejected.
there's a percentage. Even they do this, and people could say, on the forefront of AI that people using AI when they submit things, how dare they? They're cheating. But we've been using AI to check work for a while. We've been using AI because I know since I've been in college classes that every time I submit a paper, they will turn it into Intern or like different programs where a professor will insert your PDF or your document. It has to be a text document that they can scrub, and it'll have a percentage that it cannot go over a certain percentage of plagiarism or similarity. And when it does that, you go in there, you can click it. Like I think one time mine said like 3%. I'm like, what's 3% like potentially plagiarized? So you click on it and it might be like a phrase, like a 5-word phrase that may have been used somewhere, but then you click on the article and it's nothing like it. So it shows the professor where it's similar, and then the professor can decide did they copy this or it has nothing to do with the topic.
Yeah, and we know plenty of people are using this in college, even writers, and that's another con that worries me, like over dependence. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want authors to lose their creativity because they get used to using AI, or some student in college, I don't got time, I want to go out and party, so I'm going to use this. Over dependence is going to be your downfall.
Same with,
So
yeah, it
yeah,
says the same with self-driving. Eventually you're going to forget how to drive or react.
well, you know what? Because you got here, it can lead to the decline in human writing skills and creativity. And what it reminds me of, nobody writes in cursive anymore. When we were children, at least for me, way back in the Stone Age, we had to learn to write in cursive.
I think they're
I can't
teaching it
even
again.
remember. I can't remember all the words in cursive because it's been so long. People forget. I know how to write my name in cursive. That's
Oh
it.
yeah, my kids were not taught how to write in cursive, and they can't sign their name. Like they can. I'm not saying, oh, they don't know how to write their name. I'm saying they cannot. When they're like, they don't know how to form a signature because they never were trained the muscle memory of cursive
Yep.
writing to create their own signature. So their signatures are just kind of like, they feel like they're scribbling a word.
So, and so I know we're in a digital age, and I know that changes. It's sad, but now the age we're in, over dependence on AI, that is worrisome.
Mhm.
I don't want this original creative thought to go the way of, hey, I want to do a vampire book like Twilight, and then you just throw in a couple prompts and you don't think about it. That's good enough. And then,
Yeah.
you just plagiarized a whole book based on what was
Hmm.
already out there. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
all right.
Sometimes AI can struggle to understand the context and lead to something that's not, it's going to generate something very irrelevant. That could be a con, something that doesn't have to do with what you're saying. So if you're not as precise, it can be very confusing. And I've tried to trick it up a little bit before when I've done my AI. I will ask it a question in the most vague way possible, and it'll come back and say, "You're going to have to give me a little bit more context. I don't know what you're asking for, and I cannot generate from something from this because it doesn't have the data for it."
I've seen that. I've been playing around with it. I think it's called DAL-E, which is in ChatGPT for making the pictures. And yeah, it's like you have to be very, very,
Very
very precise.
specific.
Like I thought I was, and I just threw a couple pictures on Instagram from Age of the Sigil on Pim the
I saw
Knife.
those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they weren't perfect, but they were a lot better than some of the stuff. I'm like, hey, he's a teenager, and he looked like he was 10 years old. Why do you have him like this? Why did you change outfits? And just slamming with prompts, and you didn't do this, you didn't do this. And I was like, wow. Yeah, I have to be very precise. Like it's
Hmm.
almost like you're talking to a child who is a genius, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah, you're talking to young Sheldon.
Yep. Yes.
Yes. Um, the last thing I have listed here for the cons is the ethical issues. The use of AI in writing raises the question regarding the authorship and the misinformation, as we've discussed, where KDP and Lightning Source will ask you, "Are you using AI?" And you can lie, and if it doesn't catch it, what is the if someone goes around and says, "You know what? This storyline was actually this storyline from blah blah blah," or what you just did is exactly what this person did. How authentic are you as an author? How authentic are you as a person that you don't admit that you've used AI?
Yeah, and I mean, I love that Kindle exists, but even before AI was popular, here's Kindle. Everyone can become an author. Everyone has the right to become an author.
Mhm.
But people, even back then, were basically copying, plagiarizing, pasting. I've seen this happen in vocal books, in fiction books. And now it's even worse with AI that, I can just have AI study a couple books and spit one out. And it's so. I don't know, Karisa. I know you're like me. I have this feeling of joy when I create something. It's like a
Mhm.
birthed child. So the
Which
people who are,
this morning when we were talking about Canvas, how I was so excited about like chapter 11, 12, and 13 and like it was so small, but for me I'm like, this is so exciting.
but it's so, yeah, but it was so unique. It
Mhm.
wasn't through AI, and I think a lot of people's like, I can make a quick buck by putting, a book out. So I love these type of books. So let me use AI to do that,
Hey, a
and
quick
and then
buck is quickly gone.
yes, and then it doesn't do well unless they have a great marketing plan. Then you're selling garbage.
So,
So let's talk about how your experience, my experience has been since we've done an episode on AI over a year ago.
yeah. Well, so for my personal experience, I have I have used the chatbot thing, I think it is. It's the one, they all look so much alike, but
I know. I bought several. I was like, wait a minute. And I mean,
I
there's
have
probably really good ones. I don't know why I just want ChatGPT. You know, I'm sure it's more expensive. It's like $20 a
yeah,
month,
so
but
I have I have
Chat.
Chat GPT on my laptop to play with it. And then I have the chatbot thing on my phone to play with it. I don't like that one as much. The app that I have for that one, let's see, what is that one? That is Chat on AI. It looks a lot like Chat GPT.
A lot of them do. Yeah.
Yeah, they all
So
have
it's
that black.
confusing.
Yes. Yeah, there is an original. So I don't like that one as much. It's okay, but it's not like my favorite when it comes to general AI. The one that I like is the Chat GPT. And this is what I was going to tell you earlier to kind of hold a pin in that, because I was going to tell you, I'm going to actually open up my Chat GPT, my chatbot app here. And so there are one, two, three, there are five different chats that you can use. And this is just basic chat GPT. There's the Chat GPT, there's the Chat GPT 4, which that one is, that one is the one that is the most advanced AI model to date. It's more for like reasoning complex, like instruction and interpretation and enhancing creativity. It's supposed to help you create a love poem or craft a
Huh.
space odyssey.
Yeah,
Or,
I never thought about this because I know that, but I think mine's set up for Chat GPT 4. But now there's a spot on my app, Explore, and they have a ton of different
Mhm.
chatbots,
Yeah,
logo creators, Scholar GPT, Canva. This is crazy. Write for me, image generator. Yes.
yeah, yeah. And so there's some that are literally developed by like a more of an open. There's an open chat GPT type thing where it's more open to like whatever. And then there's actually AI chat systems that they have their own database that they use that's separate from everybody else's. Um, and now there's the Chat GPT 4.0, like it's the newest flagship model. So this is like stronger and faster than GPT 4. And so you can actually ask more quantitative, like math and physics questions in this one and do more challenging tasks. This is more of an updated thing. You can even ask it how to bake a cake.
You got me so excited. I'm just looking. I never even realized my Chat GPT had all this. Like it's got a video
Yeah.
summarizer, and I'm always writing. I'm
Mhm.
like, I can just have it watch my video
And tell
and
me what it is.
summarize it for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. You can do Google Gemini. So Google Gemini, which is found on a lot, I think the Pixel phones, I think, is what they have on there for the Google AI. But this is like supposed to be one of the most advanced AIs as well, which is also made for a wide range of tasks, text, images, audio, code, things like that. And it excels like in reasoning and like understanding like the whole multimedia content stuff that you're presenting with this um with like the previous GPT 4.0. And then
Yeah,
there's
there.
one I haven't used. Go ahead.
I mean, I remember talking to um, Jeff the other day. Like even like making a video, like it was so hard. But now you can give it prompts. Everything's like within a week or 2 weeks. AI is changing. It just keeps evolving. And he was sharing some stuff. It's like, oh, I gave it some prompts, and it literally made me a little like a video movie that looked really realistic. And I'm like, wow, that's insane. The things that you can do with this. So think of even if you don't want to use ChatGPT for writing your book, but you're like, man, this will be a great Netflix series.
Mhm.
Well, you could literally feed it a chapter by chapter or whatever and have it create scenes. So if you wanted to push Netflix or somebody to buy this, and you could be
Mhm.
putting this out on Instagram and getting people involved in your book, which is what we will be doing soon.
Right.
I'm into this now. All right.
Well, there's this. So I don't know if there's also Claude. So
Yep.
Claude, yeah, that's the one that you can be a little bit more interactive with. That's you can generate more of a conversation. Like it can handle longer conversations with you. It's really when you're working on long documents. It's really good to help you. Like you've already started. So when you've started up here and you're doing things and you're talking with a chat GPT or the Claude, when you're talking to AI about this document and like trying to figure out what's going on, you can continue the conversation and it's going to remember what it said up here, and make it a little bit more accurate in comparing information. So that one, you can literally ask for more stats with that one. You can make it um, more like an interview, essentially, like you're working with more of like a back and forth type of situation.
Absolutely. And you know, there have been several books co-authored and influenced by AI, and they've actually done very well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I know you put down a few examples here of books that have
Yes.
been written or co-authored with AI.
Yeah.
So the first one is One the Road by Ross Goodwin, and this is often cited as the first novel written by an AI. And Goodwin used a variety of sensors and AI algorithms to generate text during a road trip, resulting in a unique narrative experience. Yeah, I didn't even know this. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But at least he's not hiding it.
Yeah. And so this next one was kind of cool. This next one, The Day a Computer Writes a Novel. This was collaborated in Japan, where AI assisted in writing this novel, and it passed the initial rounds of a literary contest. Yeah,
That
which is
is
interesting.
crazy.
Keep in mind, AI is in its experimental phase. It's increasing, it's growing. People have to understand. And I saw someone on social media, like people being like, it's going to take over. Take over what? Humans created it. Humans are the ones that have to power it. It's not some sentient being yet.
It's the That's why
Yeah.
you always thank AI
Yeah.
when it helps you write something.
Yeah. And I mean, the only way it's going to understand frustration is if we teach it frustration. It's only going to understand sadness is if we teach it sadness. You have to teach it. It's not something that, yeah. I mean, we talk about these sci-fi things and we say, you know, it would never happen. Although we do have things that we feel like in the past wouldn't come to pass that have.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember that, and this is probably fake, but they had that videos like AI. They were talking to AI, and it's like, yes, we want to kill everybody to make the world better. I saw that video about a year ago, and I was like, wow. So, let's get off that. And let's talk about Sunspring. You had a
Yeah,
third one here.
that's not necessarily a novel. It's still it's still in the realm of writing. And this is a screenplay, not a novel, but it was written by an AI called Benjamin, and was produced as a short film.
Yeah, but that shows you. I mean, the possibilities are crazy. Think if you're some 15-year-old kid and you're like you have these great ideas, but you're like you don't have the funds and no one's going to listen to you. But now the way that AI is changing, you can come up. You have the story and use prompts, and you can write
Mhm.
a screenplay. Then you can use this other AI to create a video to get your idea out there. I mean, our next big authors and screenplay and movie producers could be a teenager that has
Mhm.
a great imagination, but they just don't have the tools to get it out.
Mhm.
Why would we turn them away from AI? You
Mhm.
know, we're not promoting plagiarism. We're not looking for that. We're looking for what assistant can help you realize your idea.
Yeah. And with every good thing, there's always a bad. You
Yep.
know, I feel like with every great thing that was meant to enhance and create this better way, an easier way, there's always going to be someone that's going to take advantage of the system. I don't care what it is. You know, the welfare system wasn't created to make people dependent on it. It was to help people. But, you know, there are people who utilize it as a dependency and take advantage of it. It's the same thing with AI. People are going to use it to just be lazy about it instead of actually using it as a tool. Although I did see the other day that AI was able to detect breast cancer before.
Yes, I saw that too.
Mhm.
Yes.
So those are the things that are great. And people are like, oh, I just hope it does this and doesn't do this. Like, okay, you have to realize you're going to have to sometimes take the bad with the good. That's just how the world works. Sometimes not everything is 100% and you know, the way we want it to do. But anyways, I separated the notes here with some nonfiction tools and fiction tools. And we've talked about, you know, a lot of the chat GPT stuff, of course, and its versatility, brainstorming, all that stuff. We talk about Grammarly all the time specifically. and how it is great for helping you edit and targeting your audience, and help change the tone and writing style that you're using. I've not ever used the Jarvis, which Jarvis, like obviously from Iron Man, they've
Yeah.
changed it to Jasper AI, which is funny because I don't know why they changed it to Jasper, but it makes me think of Jasper from Twilight.
It makes me think of, oh no, that's Casper, the
The
friendly
friendly
ghost. I was
ghost.
like,
Yeah.
Jasper, the friendly ghost.
Jasper the friendly vampire.
Yes. No, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, this one generates content quickly for marketing copy, blog posts, social media, and different things that are suited for the writer's needs. So these are specific for more of a nonfiction platform, with various templates that they have lined out on it.
Yeah, then we got the Hemingway editor. It's
Which is a very
focused more.
cool name.
Yeah, and actually, it's focused on improving readability. It highlights complex sentences, passive voice, and adverbs, helping writers to create clear and concise prose.
Prose.
Oh, prose. I know I'd screw it up again.
What'd you say?
I think I said prowls last time. I did that on purpose in the last, and now I'm stuck on it. Prowls. Yeah, a lot of these I haven't heard of, but you know what? They're every day. It's like even on my iPhone, there is a gazillion freaking apps for ChatGPT. We're not saying anyone's better than the other. You don't have to even go with the original ChatGPT, the Open AI, but a lot of those other apps are based on that. You could find what works for you. I've tried several of them, and to come when I came, because you mentioned a couple other ones here. You don't even have my favorite one that I bought recently on this list. Maybe you do. It's lower.
I have it in fiction.
Yes, I know. I've seen the fiction.
These are the nonfiction ones. Yeah. So hold your horses.
I would think Hemingway would be a fiction one, though, for some reason.
Well, I feel like it's more because it's a literature type thing, and Hemingway is known for his literature. And a lot of Hemingway's stuff wasn't necessarily fiction per se, because it was perspective, creative nonfiction, and therefore it would fall under this realm. But moving on, the next one here is not.
I'm just being JDHD.
Yeah,
Scrivener.
Yes, I think it would be called Scrivener, but that's just me. This one is not necessarily a traditional AI. It's funny that we say traditional AI, since it's like
we're at that point in
it's trad AI. It's so trad AI. But anyways, this is meant for more of a long-term planning, keeping your stuff organized, your notes, research for papers, things like that, keeping everything in more of a content-oriented place for you to be able to organize your writing.
Yeah. Per writing aid. Yeah, it's kind of like Grammarly, correct?
Yeah, but more sort of. Yeah, but it's funny when it's like pro writing aid. I feel like it's like kind of like some kind of cream you should be putting on like a rash.
Yes.
Let me put that on my fingers. I got writer's block. I need to rub that in.
I'm not even going to comment. I'll let you have that one. That was funny.
Yes. Yeah, but this one is like you said. This one is a lot more like Grammarly, but it gives you more of the structure for a nonfiction editing tool, more of a comprehensive structure for that. So I feel like Grammarly is a lot more of a user-friendly approach. This one's a little bit more in detailed when it reports your writing style. So you may want to use that for reports, essays.
Like if you're in college, yeah.
Right. Correct. All right. Moving on to the fiction tools that we use with AI.
So lucky, ChatGPT. We've been talking about that a million times. That's what I use. I don't use it for writing.
It's one of the. I feel like it's one of the forerunners.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a forerunner in both nonfiction and fiction, and just everything in general that people are utilizing. They were using these things for just communication things, even on Snapchat, I think, when they were doing the chatbot things. A lot of these things are just there, and you can brainstorm dialogue. You can brainstorm, different possibilities with your characters. Like, I have a character that's this. How can I make them more intriguing? Give me some ideas. Or I have a character who is this type of personality. What kind of job could I give them? If you're just like, I can't think of what kind of job. Yeah, it's great to kind of pull in things to give you like inspiration. instead of spending and beating your head over the box with it, you can kind of utilize it for comprehensive work and tools for your writing.
Yeah, you still got to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, I mean, because it's not going to know what to write if you don't have the detailed bullet points
Mm-hmm.
that you need for, your article.
Yeah.
So we're back to Jasper the
Yeah,
friendly
because you can use
vampire.
Jasper for your fiction as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because
I also have templates for your
yep,
fiction. Yep. And it's going to help promote those creative writing prompts. And I have not used this one extensively. I slightly tried it when I was looking for the most used ones. And it offers tools to develop your character development, descriptions, and also it seems to be one of the top favorites for people who are writing novels. So the next one I will allow you to do because yes,
yeah,
we've both used this one.
yeah, but I heard it from somebody else, but you're the one that inspired me. Like, Jaime, you need to check this out. And I remember pseudo write, and I specifically signed up. I pay for pseudo write because they had mentioned, I had texted back and forth. I said, can I import previous novels so you give me a summary breakdown and you keep me on point for writing the next one? Absolutely. And I'm going to call them out. At least they're better now. I tried to do this and it was not there. And I said, you just told me this. And so I just paid for a year. Why did I do that? I'm not going to use it. And I'm sure a lot of people said the same thing. They're like, we're on it. So now they're in beta as we release this
Episode.
podcast. And you can literally pull in a novel and it can break down your characters, your scenes, your writing style, and everything. Right now, it's limited to
120 words.
120,000 words.
Oh yeah, 120,000, not 120.
120 words, we're in trouble.
That's a really tiny novel.
I gotta say, that's a con though. Like, look at Willow. Hers is 175,000 words, so it wouldn't benefit her.
Mm-mm.
But I think in beta, if they get it up to like 200,000 words, we'll
That would
be
be great.
fine.
Yeah.
For me, I have Age of the Sigil 1, 2, 3. They're each around 60 to 70,000 words. So I wanted to combine them all together. Can't do it. Got to break it down. I'm going to have to go through and do some scrubbing because it's going to repeat the characters and all of that. But that's not an issue. We'll fix it later. But hey, it gives you the cool thing about that. It's just like looking on ChatGPT. You have all these different setups for writing fiction. So in pseudo-write, it's like writing sci-fi, writing romance. So they have these little prompts to help guide you within that. So you have to really dive in and play around with it. But
Yeah.
I'll be using this for the rest of my writing time, I'm
Well, and
sure.
so just going into your Sudowrite, if you go into Sudowrite, so you have a homepage where you have literally your projects listed, and I really think Sudowrite needs to have more videos to help with
Yep.
the updated versions of their work. But you can hit rewrite, so you can, and this is where you're doing the work. You can write an entire paragraph, and you're like, okay, there's just something about this paragraph just doesn't feel quite mysterious. So you can literally highlight it, click the rewrite, and over in the side, you'll put there customize and say, make it more ominous and mysterious. It'll give you, and you can change how many cards it'll give you. Like you can say, I want it to give me 3 choices, or maybe only 2, or maybe give me 5. And it'll just like literally give you that many cards that you can read and say, oh, okay. You don't have to like insert all of it. You can say, well, okay, I just like this one sentence here, copy paste. Oh yeah, I like that, but I'm gonna reword that different. But I do like that you use that. It will help you restructure certain sentences, or as you're reading it, like, oh yeah, that flows so much better. But when it's on the side here, you can see what it is changing of yours and what is kept of yours. So you know word for word what AI has changed and whether or not you want to accept it.
This is like I mentioned to you and Willow with Rich. When he edits a book, we do it usually like in Google Drive, Google Docs, and he does track changes. So he's essentially human AI, and you can look at the changes and you can choose to accept or delete them. That's
Yeah.
what I like about Sudowrite. It's basically doing the same thing.
Mhm.
Now, when I say that, it doesn't mean I still don't use an editor. I would never use AI to replace an editor. I
No.
want
Now,
that. human connection.
With that said, AI I would not use for replacing an editor for my final draft.
Correct.
Because a lot of times, if you are self-publishing, you don't really have the budget to pay for several edits. You have the budget to pay for one nice edit. Therefore, this is a great way to make sure that you have things spelled correctly, you have your commas in the proper place, that you're putting your spaces, the same throughout, like little tiny things. And this is the next one I have here again is Grammarly. Use that with your fiction. I will type it in. So with my pseudo-write, let me back up here. My pseudo-write, I have Grammarly inserted into my pseudo-write. So when I'm typing in pseudo-write, down at the very bottom where I'm typing is my little Grammarly icon. So Grammarly is following in all of my apps, including my AI apps. Every AI app I have, Grammarly is inserted into it because it's like it does a little thing. Anything I open, text messaging, anything like that, Grammarly is attached to it, so it will correct it before I send it. I don't know if you have yours set up that way.
No, I'm not even using Grammarly. I'm just going to be honest in this thing. I haven't went that point yet. I know I'm going to
Yeah,
have
because
to.
it's just nice that because if I'm using anything in Safari, I have it attached to my Safari, so Grammarly is right at the top of everything. And so if I have a text box, anything that allows me to type in it, Grammarly is down at the very bottom, and then it'll turn red and flash and let me know I need something to work on, and I'll click it, and I can pull it up and say, oh yeah, accept or no, decline. This is how I want it to be.
So, Hodo, Hodido.
Mhm.
Does that mean
Oh
if
no.
I can do it with texting you? I mean,
Mhm.
can it do?
Yes.
Apple, come on. You're going to make me buy another app. I mean, can you just correct my stuff?
Well, I'm sure you could.
You know what? I mean, I'm sure
I
I'm
don't
wrong.
know how Grammarly would be working with your
You would
talk
think
to
the
text.
pseudo write and these would be kind of already set up like that you wouldn't need Grammarly to really check it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but Grammarly or pseudo-write is not an app. It is only on you can use it on your laptop
Yeah,
and things like that. So it is not an app system essentially. I mean, it technically is, but
but
not
it is.
really. It
Yeah,
doesn't,
and I don't think
yeah,
they're never going to do that. Yeah.
yeah, it works as a program as if you were opening Word or something like that. So it is not an app that has like its functionality built into it that way. It has the writing functionality. As far as the editing part, I don't know. Maybe if I didn't have Grammarly connected to it, it might have something on there.
We'll approach this again in a future one as I'm really diving in because I may be in here and I'll call you and be like, yeah, I got to get Grammarly and put it in here. And that was one of my things because since it's not an app, I almost didn't buy it.
Yeah,
But
and I even
luckily,
now with Grammarly because it is connected to my Apple ID, I can have it on my laptop, I can have it on my iPad, and I can have it on my phone all on the one same account.
yeah, and that's what I would do too.
Yes.
Luckily, I would not have gotten Suda right. I'm going to be honest. If I could not, since I got my iPad in landscape mode and I got an
You
Apple
could do it
Magic
that way.
keyboard. Yep,
Yeah, it's
so it
not
works
great for
fine.
a phone. Yeah,
No,
that is the one that was a con with pseudo-write is that it cannot be used as efficient because you have to turn your phone
yeah,
to horizontal.
I've tried. It won't even work on my
So
phone.
tiny. Mine will work, but it's so tiny. It's like I no.
Yeah, so
Although
no, it's great on my iPad.
I do have like a little miniature keyboard that I could
You should
use.
try it then to see, but then you have to get the bifocals to
No,
see it little
I'm
screen.
nearsighted. I can see it just fine. So,
All
anyways,
right, your favorite one since we keep talking
talking
about it.
about Grammarly. Yeah.
Yep.
So Grammarly is listed as one of the top things that authors use for AI in their writing for fiction. It is listed when I was looking these up for the top ones. However, as a personal lover of Grammarly, it is not my go-to when it comes to writing inspirational content for fiction. It is great for nonfiction, but when I
You're
ask
gonna
it,
make me buy Grammarly.
yes,
Keep
I
going.
make you buy a lot of things.
You do. Between you and Claude, like you need this new synthesizer app on your phone or on your Mac.
So
All
the
right.
key, yeah, you want to buy Grammarly, and then you got to go in there and find how you plug it in to be able to utilize it. Because I can, okay, for example, I can go into. Oh, I got a lot of text messages here.
I actually have this on my phone, but I'm
Grammarly?
not paying for the service. That's what it is.
Oh yeah. So I pay for the year in advance because the year in advance is cheaper than paying the monthly. But down here in my little, I don't know if you can see this. This is just my messages between Jaime
I
and
am
I.
back.
I am back. Yeah, having lots of screen freeze over here.
Yes.
That was because when we were recording in the last episode, Jamie's screen kept, it almost sounded like an air conditioning system, and it was making your screen turn purple and be louder than the author that we were interviewing. But down here in this bottom part here, watch this. So right now, my Grammarly is not connected, but if I hit this little button, I could put my little, it has a little option right there for Grammarly. And then my Grammarly is in this top little corner here now. And so everything I type, it's going to give me little options right there. I just typed fudge.
Yeah, I'm looking now because you can use Grammarly for free, and it's fixed grammar and spelling, which is mainly. But there's much more there if you want to go with the premium.
Oh yeah, and I do the premium only because it's nice for me when I'm using college papers. I will type my stuff out and then I'll plug it into Grammarly, and I will ask it to make sure the goals are set for the college paper parameters I'm doing, whether it's a report, an essay, or a um, just like a discussion board type thing. Or if I'm emailing a professor and I don't want to sound like I'm, whatever, I will plug it in there like this make this sound more professional or more academic. It will give you options. You don't have to accept them. It'll even give you suggestions for making it smaller if you feel like you're just running on. So it's nice. It's not something that's going to technically generate fictional content like some of the other powerhouses in AI.
And people watching this podcast like, Jamie's not even into this. Yeah, I am. It's my brain. I can function in both, and I'm setting up my Grammarly keyboard. Let me say something. Pauly Shore. Yeah, no, I like this. There.
So to the guy in the front.
Yeah, but I'm only using the free one because I can't spell and I'll wait and see. I dig into it. And it's not that it's that expensive, but Lord, I already pay for probably 52 yearly apps. It's insane what I do. But hey, that's the price of being addicted to apps.
Ooh. Novel AI. I'm so sorry that I was distracted by your app. This one is designed specifically for authors. You can tell in the name. It's called Novel AI. Provides and generates storytelling with features such as world building assistance, which Sudowrite has as well. That's something I do like about I'm going to keep going back because I like Sudowrite. Yep. It has world building. In Sudowrite, you can brain dump. You can, have organized stuff with your characters. Even if you don't use the AI technology that they offer, it has a lot of organization for your project. I do enjoy that. I feel like that's what I like better than the actual. I don't utilize a lot of the writing. I do a lot of the suggestion stuff, but not the write type situation. But Novel AI, designed specifically for authors, like I said, Novel AI provides an AI generated storytelling with features such as world building, character development, and plot generation, all while maintaining the writer's unique style. So it sounds like it's a lot like Sudowrite, but it was at the bottom of the list of one of the author's favorites. I'm not sure I haven't used this one, so I don't know if it's better than Sudowrite. I may go in there and look at it and see how it works at generating stuff.
You know what? Jumping back 14 minutes and 8 seconds ago, I think I'm going to combine just to test it to see how it breaks down that way. I think I want to throw all three of the Age of the Sigil in one big file. Stick it in there anyway, because that's going to be around 190,000 words just to see, because it is beta, so we're going to try to break that system and see what happens.
Yeah.
Which has nothing to do with Novel AI, but, I had to spit it out. It reminds me of Vetus.
Listen, don't get lazy with talking if AI is going to be doing it for you.
Oh my God, AI is getting crazy with voice recognition and voice copying now too.
Well,
hey, you want to do a song?
That it's not better with AI listening to you with your talk to text, being able to understand a lot of your accent in,
I got an accent. What?
What?
You think I'm bad? one of my best friends who's right across the street in Kentucky. Hey, Jaime, remember when we lived out in California? Yeah, Keith, if you're watching this, I'm talking about you. All right.
Poor Keith.
Yeah,
Keith from Kentucky.
Keith Tucky. Um,
Kentucky.
listen, I'm sold on AI. Not to write the novel for you, but as
Mm-hmm.
a great tool
Mm-hmm.
to inspire you, to help keep you on point, to pick your creative brain. So
Mm-hmm.
don't throw it by the wayside. Don't think, oh, I'll never do that, because it can help you speed up the process. You may be an author who's like, I've been writing my book for a decade now. I see a lot of those. Yeah, I started writing a book, but I can't get to it. What if I'm stuck on Keith. What if this could help you finally finish that book? Not write it for you, but
Mm-hmm.
inspire you and keep you on point so that when you sit down, you're like, wow, I actually got 3 times done as much in a half an hour than what I was getting when I sat down for a 4-hour session.
Right.
So if you got that novel inside of you or that nonfiction book inside of you, use the tools. They're
Yeah.
there for a reason.
Yeah, I know an author that and this is I'm not going to name any names that I met years ago, probably like right before I met them a long time ago, but whenever I wrote my first book, I remember them saying, "Oh, I've been writing a book," and their brother-in-law was like, "You've been writing this book for like 8 years." And so I published my first one, and then I came out with the second one, and then the brother-in-law was like, "She's already came out with 2 and you still haven't put that first one out," like kind of calling this person out. And I felt bad. I was like, yeah, I'm just kind of like I'm a little bit more motivated now. They have written for other publications. They just haven't finished a novel. So they did, after like 12 years, finish it. And they made a comment to me saying, yeah, I know a publisher. I know da blah, blah, blah. I know someone with like, I think it was like Penguin. They know someone from Penguin. Like, so I just know I'll just reach out to them. I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm glad you finally finished it. Applause. I mean, I'm not in competition with you. They sent her back and said, your book is all over the place. You have several different stories, but because she took so long to write it, she missed where she was. So AI would help her stay on point.
Yep.
She could take that, instead of being like so frustrated with it and never getting it out, she may be able to input it into an AI system and help her be like, okay, let's what's the story you're trying to tell? Because AI can read your writing, and this is things that humans themselves may miss when they're reading their own stuff. Say you've missed, or not missed, but you are kind of saying this, but then you change it to this voice and then you're going back to this. It will be very honest, because it has no it essentially has no filter for your feelings.
Yeah, and it also, you have no excuse anymore. I had a friend, of course, it was nonfiction, really close friend of mine, Matt. I'm calling you out. He's been a guitar instructor for decades, and I've heard this since the '90s. I'm writing an instructional book. I'm writing an instructional book. And then I remember I had this way before AI. This 20 years ago. I'm like, dude, are you ever going to finish it? I said, look, I'm publishing. I can help you finish it. And his
Mm-hmm.
response was, okay, I'll just send you everything and then you put it together. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not finishing your book for you. You got to do A, B, and C before we would even compile it. And he never did it. So he could use ChatGPT. He could use AI now to do it. But you're also going to have some people's like, well, that's too much work too. It's not. Just dive in. If you have that book, if you've been sitting on it for decades or 10 years or 8 years or whatever, do you want to be able to say you're a published author, or do you just want to keep making excuses?
Right.
So, you have the ability, so hop on it. Don't dissuade AI. Let it work for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let it be your
And with
writing
that
assistant.
said,
Almost like you've hired a writing assistant.
absolutely. Yes.
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 Yes. Well, I'm so glad that we were able to do a full year of podcasting and revisit some of our old topics, because we've learned a lot from them. So now that we have got to this point, we'll revisit a few other ones from the past and go over them from what we've learned from authors that we've had on, editors, different people within the industry that have helped us grow. And we're thankful that you still keep listening, even though we're learning as we go as well. But if you do have anything you'd like to add to the podcast or suggestions for episodes, or if you just want to ask a question, please reach out to us at alwayswritepodcast@gmail.com. And if you have a different platform you'd like to try while you're driving, instead of watching us on YouTube, you can go to the alwayswritepodcast.com and click on the little icons there. And we have all of our listening platforms and our social media, so you can follow us on all of those, because we really appreciate it, even though we probably won't follow you back because we only follow each other. Keep our circle small. Anyways, thank you for listening. This has been a great episode. My name is author Karisa DeLay,
and I need another tattoo here by Karisa, and I'm author Jaime Vendera. So I know she wants to get me down to Florida to finish this area.
Yes.
So we'll
so if you're using AI, you'll have more time on your hands to come down to Florida and get a tattoo.
That's true. All right. So we'll see you in the next episode.
Yes. Thanks for listening, and always write.